Hello, LBA. How are you guys doing? Good? Yes. We've had a very good morning already. Yes. So I'm really excited to be here to share with you my theory of the artist's three-legged stool, what you will learn in practice rooms. Now, before I begin, I want to give a huge shout out to the TEDx team, especially Ella Choi. Yes. Yeah. She was so gracious. She gave me a wonderful tour of your school yesterday, and we were so excited. I was here with a friend, and I saw what a magical place, right? You guys have won so many awards, so many dedicated staff and faculty members, which means that a lot of you guys probably spend a lot of time in this space. It's the practice room. Yes. It's a small space, barely big enough to fit a music stand, you and your instrument. If you're lucky, you got a piano. If you're very lucky, you got a grand piano. Why do you do it? Because since the day that you told someone you wanted to be a performer, they have said these three words to you: practice, 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 right? Mm-hmm. She's nodding. Exactly. Why do we do it? You're going to end up in a conservatory most likely, and you're going to look like sardines in a can, practicing endless hours, except maybe sardines in different cans. Why do we do it? Because you want to get to Carnegie Hall, because you want to land that lead role, because you want to win that audition. Actually, I've heard your orchestra's already been to Carnegie Hall. You've already been landing all these lead roles and winning auditions. So what happens after that? How are you going to maintain a sustainable and meaningful lifelong career? So that's when I discovered the artist's three-legged stool. It's an invisible but essential support system that all artists lean on, whether or not they know it. The three legs are philanthropy, labor unions, and public policy. These three legs sustain the arts. Think of it this way: your practice and your craft form the base, the seat of that, but even the best performances will begin to fall without support. So let's dive into each one. Philanthropy, what is it? It's a modern patronage structure where individuals, foundations, and corporations fund the arts. Why? Who? Let's start with the who. So you know these names, you just don't think of them as people because you think of them as institutions, places that you want to go to, places you want to perform at. But Curtis, Colburn, Juilliard, Tisch, Carnegie, Disney, and Smith, they were all philanthropists. They give millions and millions of dollars to the arts. Why? Because the return on investment to have so many well-trained musicians on stages sharing their talent with the rest of the world, that's invaluable. So we work hand in hand, right? Performers and philanthropists. They need us. Do we need them? Yeah, we need them too. Why? Well, there's this thing called Baumol's-Cost disease. Don't worry, it's not a real disease. You don't have to go see the doctor. Baumol was an economist. And what he observed was that, unlike manufacturing, unlike technology, we cannot cut costs by performing a Beethoven quartet with fewer players or with fewer notes. So in the 18th century, it took 4 people and 40 minutes. It's going to take that today. Why? Because the live performing arts are human-powered. Now, how does this translate? Okay, so some of you guys are thinking you might want to join a dance company, a theater troupe, a jazz or symphonic orchestra. Well, in those organizations, more than 50% of their revenue, that's money coming into these organizations, will stem from philanthropy. Okay, so we need to depend on this leg, right? And in fact, you've been depending on this leg, whether or not you know it already. You probably know them, right? Friends of LVA? Yeah. Guess what? There are 501c3 nonprofit organizations whose whole mission is to make sure LVA thrives and that this institution survives and that you become an artist. And right now, they're doing something that's very important. LVA is experiencing a $1.2 million budget cut. And this philanthropic foundation is doing everything in its power to close that gap. Your call to action to strengthen this leg is to visit their website and answer the call to action. The second leg, labor unions. What is it? They're networks that transform solo artists into a unified force. This is the city that never sleeps, right? So you got performers all over, which means you also have unions all over. Here are just some of them. Okay, that's a lot of acronyms, I know. It looks like alphabet soup, I understand. But you'll recognize the names of union members. In fact, you might even idolize them. Yes, all of them are union members. Some of them belong to multiple unions. That one on top there, she employs union members when she goes on tour, when she performs in public. So what do unions do for all these people? They ensure fair treatment. What does that mean? Well, first and foremost, they ensure fair compensation. I mean, how often is it that you're talking to somebody, you tell them you're going to be an artist, and either the first or last question is, well, how are you going to make a living? Right? Well, now you know there's philanthropy, and now you also know that their labor unions will fight for you, will ensure fair wages so that you are paid equitably. They also ensure fair working conditions. What are those? It could be something as simple as having breaks between rehearsals. Speaking of rehearsals, we spend so much more time in rehearsal than we do on stage. Wouldn't it be nice to be compensated for that? Well, yeah, unions do that. In essence, as a union member, you'll be working under a contract, which means that you can't just be let go of at will. And most of all, they really fight for our dignity. Because right now, our unions are facing one of the biggest challenges in centuries, the unknown unknown, known as generative AI. As a performer in the performing arts, our likeness, which includes our face, our movement, our mannerisms, our voice, our artistic output, can be used and fed into generative AI without our knowledge, without our consent. As individuals, it will be a huge uphill battle for us to negotiate. But together, your union is your collective voice to negotiate your future career. So what's your call to action on this? Get to know your union. Meet union members, talk to them. They're probably on campus. Learn about your future. The third leg, public policy. What is it? They're laws and regulations that address public needs. For the arts, arts policy, those are laws and regulations that ensure the arts remain a public good. What's a public good? Yes, LVA, this public high school. It is a living testament to effective arts policy because your Nevada State Legislature, your Clark County school officials, and your community members recognize the value of arts education, and they made a public investment to ensure that everyone in Clark County has access. And the return on that public investment, this is priceless. And so what I'm going to say next is very, very important. This leg, public policy, it's under attack right now. Federal agencies are being shut down. Federal funding is drying up, and that will impact the state, the region, the local, and it will hit you. Please advocate for the arts. Make sure that the arts remain a public good. Some of you are not old enough to vote, but you are old enough to call your legislatures, to show up to board meetings, to show up to open forums and tell them to advocate for the arts. We're giving you a few of these organizations that you can reach out to, you can follow them, and you can find out what you can do to advocate for the arts. So the three legs: philanthropy, labor unions, and public policy. They don't seem so invisible now that you know what they are, right? And with this knowledge, Peg, you got a leg up. And you can make informed decisions about your career path, make relationships with policymakers, with advocates, with labor members, with philanthropists, with philanthropic foundation members, and most of all, advocate for the arts. You can practice, please do, and that will ensure beautiful performances. And let's also make sure that you have a sustainable, meaningful, lifelong career. All the resources I've cited, you can access through this QR code in the link tree. Thank you.